that victory. How did you feel like they handled that victory on Saturday with your win over Bentley?
Yeah, I mean, I felt they came out focused. Big kicking play early in the ball game put us on the board quickly. We found ourselves on on the field defensively. Two long drives in the beginning of the game, blocking the punt, and then going right back out. Offense kind of stood there for 30 minutes before they got out there and went in and executed. I really felt that they took care of business, challenged them at halftime to put the game away, and they came out in the third quarter and did it. But still got sloppy with the turnovers and the penalties, and we got to get that fixed.
You touched on that quick start, the block punt by Andre Smith that Collins was able to return for a touchdown. How big to be able to start the game that way? And was that something that you thought you could get as you guys were prepping going into the week?
Yeah, I felt that we had a good look there. I felt we could take advantage of some of the stuff that we saw schematically on their protection, and Coach Schlab did a great job scheming it up. And Andre used his hands or tried to use his hands, but I think it hit him in the face. And anytime you can start off the game with a special teams touchdown like that before you, I call that a defensive touchdown too. I think that's big before your offense even steps on the field. We've got a 7-0 lead. I think anytime that happens, that gives you a great boost.
Offensively, after that play in the first half, you put together a 11 play, 99-yard drive, and then an 81-yard drive, a couple of touchdown passes for Bren. How pleased were you with that ball control and being able to methodically put long drives together in a game like that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that 99 drive was actually like a 150 play drive because if we kept shooting ourselves in the foot with penalties but was really proud of their patience and persistence on that drive. We only got 28 plays total in the first half as an offense. So we still had quite a bit of the call sheet left to play, to call in the second half, but protecting the football. We got down in the red zone. I believe we had a turnover in the first half as well, and that kind of, that stings. And the message that we just told them is, you play like this in the CAA ball, you're going to lose games.
I mentioned Zaim with the return of the punt block. He also had 6 catches for you, 87 yards. Obviously, he helps you on special teams along with your offense. Just talk about all the things he can do for you.
Yeah, Zaim's coming into his own right now. He's um, uh, he's a kid that coming out of high school, 10-7, 100-meter dash kid, and he's kind of embraced that role in the routes that he runs from the field X, and he is really coming into his own. I think if you just take a peek back to last week against UMass when he caught that deep ball, once he caught it, the DB was on his heels, but then he stepped on the gas and pulled away from him. He has that type of speed that we're going to look to take advantage of.
And the other thing, I'll just get your comments on. Obviously, Brennan's been great all 3 weeks here in the season, but your run game got going there in the second half. I think he finished with 140 yards on the ground and some rushing touchdowns. Was that kind of a focus going into the game, trying to get that part of your offense rolling?
Yeah, it's been a focus going into the season. You start off against two FBS teams where size-wise and strength-wise and depth-wise, that those are tough sledding at the beginning of the season. Except second half against UMass, I think we got the running game going a little bit. But last night or Saturday night it was good to get that group going, offensive line wise and everything else. Brennan's really good, and him being able to carry us throwing the football. If we have a complementary run game, I think our offense is just that more explosive.
We're here with Bryant head coach Chris Merritt. If you have a question for him this morning, just use the chat feature or raise your hand icon. Let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. You guys limit them to 194 yards for the game, just 24 on the ground. What did you like about the way those guys played?
Felt that if you're going to win football in the Northeast, you have to have a great run defense. I think that you already alluded to the fact about the top rushing offense or a rushing offense focus for us, but I feel that you've got to be able to run the ball and stop the run up here. And I think that's been a tremendous amount of focus placed on that by our defensive staff. And I think through the first 3 games, our opponents are being held less than 100 yards a game. And my hat's off to them. They're playing sound football right now. We did have a coverage bust that led to a touchdown on their against Bentley, but I think for the most part, they've put together 3 straight games of pretty sound football. And like the way they're triggering, like the way they're getting after our opponents right now.
You start, or you got your CAA opener on the road on Saturday at Campbell. As you've started to look at Campbell, what are some of the challenges they'll present for you?
They're very athletic. I mean, I think they're just as athletic as the first 2 teams that we played. I think physically, Campbell's always been an impressive team, especially walking off that bus in pregame warmups. You know, we had the opportunity to play them a couple years ago when we were in the same conference, and this will be the second time we've played them here in the last 3 or 4 years. But I know that Braxton, they're well coached, and they're going to provide some athletic challenges for us, very similar to the first 2 weeks of the season.
At their quarterback situation, they've used a couple of guys. Sometimes they have those guys in the same backfield together. As a defensive coordinator, what problems does that cause?
Well, you know, they have the ability at any time. You know, I know that the 2 guys they've been using in there, you know, there's some playbooks wide open, and we have to be sound and have eye discipline. I think that's if you think eye discipline has to be level 9 or 10 with one quarterback in there, it's got to be 12 or 13 when you've got 2. So that presents challenges, especially with the +1 run game. We found that out against Bentley. Bentley exploited some stuff with number 15, their running quarterback, and you know we're deep into getting that fixed now, and you know we expect to see that package against us Saturday.
Touched on the fact that it's the conference opener, and I know when we've talked in the preseason, year 2 in the conference, you felt like you were a lot better prepared. You certainly have gotten off to a really strong start to this season. How much emphasis on the fact that to kind of showing people in the conference the improvements you've made, and kind of testing yourself to see where you stack up?
Well, 1 week at a time. You know, it doesn't matter if we're 0-3, 3-0, 2-1, 1-2. I told the team the other night, it's, you know, this is when the season begins right now. We've had 3 great tune-ups. You know, we need to finish the first month of the season on a strong note. And it's conference play is what we focus on. And, you know, we got a pretty solid challenge right out the gate.
All right, Chris, thanks so much for your time here this morning. Safe travels to Bowie's Creek, and we'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Rob. Take care.
Thank you. All right, you too. Once again, for media members on the line, if you have questions for any of our coaches here this morning, just use the chat feature or the raise your hand icon.